Alright. How's it going, everybody? It's Sandwhichpants. And, I actually got my equalizer re-downloaded and, operational. Turns out my compressor was messing with everything. It, for some reason, turned my noise gate all the way up to, 24. I have to be speaking over 24 decibels to be picked up, and that's just, that's not a thing. As you can see here, ow, um, my noise gate is set to negative 24. If I jack it up to 24, here it's not only if I'm right up in it. If I set it around here, then it actually works just fine. So, that's what happened. Pretty bad. So, what do we got going on over here? We got three different things. I kind of didn't go over them real hard. Let me, I actually I want to turn that down a bit because it's annoying to have my shit cut off quick. And if I'm speaking with the noise gate low, yeah, see that? It cuts out my computer sound. Ugh. Throw that out of the way. My computer can cool down. And we can get started. We've got whatever this is. What's up? I just kicked on the stream. Alright.
On Iran, they've announced that they're going to go to 60% uranium enrichment. What does that do to the ongoing indirect talks? Does it complicate them? Are those talks still on? And then I'll have a couple follow-ups.
Sure. Well, let me say that first, we take seriously Iran's provocative announcement of its intention to begin enriching uranium to 60%, which the P5+1 should be unified in rejecting. This step both calls into question Iran's seriousness with regard to the nuclear talks and underscores the imperative of returning to mutual compliance with the JCPOA. We share a common stated objective of returning to mutual compliance with the JCPOA with Iran. And we have been engaged constructively in what we felt was constructive dialogue last week, even as it was indirect, in Vienna. While they were difficult, and while we expect this to be long, we expect, and we have not been alerted of any change in planned attendance in the meetings that will resume later this week. So we are certainly concerned about these provocative announcements, but our goal remains seeing through a diplomatic process, which we expect to resume in Vienna later this week.
Okay, just so very clear, you expect the indirect negotiations to continue, even though you're questioning their seriousness to those negotiations.
Well, look, I think, Hans, we believe that the diplomatic path is the only path forward here, and that having a discussion, even indirect, is the best way to come to resolution. It doesn't mean that we hold back on concerns we have and don't encourage our P5+1 partners to expressing those same concerns and having that as part of the discussion.
On the sort of diplomatic front, was the U.S. giving any heads up about the attack from potentially Israel on the power facility for Natanz?
I have nothing further to read out about our understanding of the origin or the intention of the attack.
Was the U.S. at all in any way involved in the attack on the power facility in Natanz?
As I said yesterday, we were not.
If I could just let's switch gears to Russia real quick.
Okay. Being concerned. We'll go over Abby Martin's thing here in a little bit. These are both longer than I want to deal with right now.
So Noam Chomsky gave an interview recently on a radio show, and he was asked about how Biden is doing, and I want to show you his comments. This is interesting to me. He says, I must say that what Biden has done so far is
I must say that what Biden has done so far is rather pleasant to me. Chomsky told Barsamayan. I don't know how you say that name. It's better than I would have expected. He's pretty sharply criticized on the left for flaws and omissions in the domestic policy. These criticisms are, in my view, correct but a little bit unfair. Okay, yeah, I agree. There's only so much you can do when half the Senate is, no matter what you say, going to be 100% against it.
disagree. Say a little bit. Even if say, well, the question.
Oh, so you're just talking about it. Rather pleasant surprise to me. Okay. I mean, yeah. Okay. Let's go over this. I can break this down because I understand the exact arguments Chomsky would make. I know them because I make them. Biden, I thought, was going to be a complete shit show. Like, just completely awful. Marginally better than Trump, but still not good. Like, just fucking awful. Failures in domestic policy, major failures in foreign policy. I want to point out the domestic policy side of things. I'd give him a C plus, B minus area right now. The holding of children is such a complex fucking issue. Now, I've given my own fix for it, but as things stand with how our immigration shit works, what the fuck do you do with a bunch of unaccompanied kids? Do you just release them into the street? What do? You don't know who they are, you don't know where they came from, you don't know anything about them, whether they have family there, nothing. Do you just let them out onto the street? Do you just let random people come by and pick them up? It's such a hard issue to deal with. So I give him some leeway with the holding facilities, but not enough. Or not by not enough, I mean not that much. The fact that they exist currently, I find distasteful. I understand the reasoning. The optics around it, awful. The actual process of what's going on in there seems pretty bad. Fair criticism. Doesn't seem like he really has too much of a choice right now with how immigration stands and with what's going on overall, but he's still doing a bad thing. It's pretty generalized. Rebuilding the border wall, I'm actually, like, finishing the border wall? No, I'm 100% against this shit. Like, what are you doing, Biden? You were slamming Trump over that border wall. He is crowing over this right now, I guarantee it. Sharply criticized on the left for flaws and omission in the domestic policy. These criticisms are, in my view, correct, but a little bit unfair. Such as that one. They're just like, oh, he's no better than Trump. He didn't do enough with the stimulus. He didn't do enough with this. He's failed here. He's failed there. Like, every single day I wake up and lefty Twitter and leftist Facebook groups are just posting about how Biden has failed here because they read a headline they find distasteful. They don't read any of the article. They don't know any of the information in it. None of it. And they just fucking say that he's Satan 2.0 or some shit. I don't want Kyle's criticism. I just wanted to know what Chomsky was saying. And if Kyle's just going to talk for like 10 minutes of the thing after reading off the quote, okay.
Fox News host Tucker Carlson is again facing calls to resign or for Fox News to fire him. So let's just jump right into the first clip.
I'm laughing because this is one of about 10 stories that I know you've covered where the government shows preference to people who have shown absolute contempt for our customs, our laws, our system itself, and they're being treated better than American citizens. Now, I know that the left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement, if you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the vote.
Oh my god. He just comes out and says it. He just says it.
Voters now casting ballots with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it, that's true.
Anybody know the 14 words? Because what Tucker Carlson just said ties into that very much. His head writer was a fucking Nazi. Like, hardcore Nazi. And this brainlit shit is coming out here while people still remember this. And spouting off more white nationalist talking points. That's all I cared about, was the clip. Oh. Is there more?
Let's continue with the clip.
If this was happening in your house, if you were in 6th grade, for example, and without telling you, your parents adopted a bunch of new siblings and gave them brand new bikes and let them stay up later and help them with their homework and gave them twice the allowance that they gave you, you would say to your siblings, I think we're being replaced by kids that our parents love more. And it would be kind of hard to argue against you because look at the evidence.
A, dumb fuck analogy, because Tucker Carlson's a dumbass. And B, no. A, or number one, immigrants don't really have access to the social safety net. They don't really have access to it. They pay into our taxes, which benefits us. Nobody is getting replaced. People are just also coming in. Like, it's not like for every immigrant that comes in, you have to get rid of a whitey. Come on, honky. Like, the fuck? Come on, dude. Nobody gets replaced. You see, okay, hold on. You see this? This is a picture of a giraffe, right? I don't want the actual, no, I just want the giraffe picture. Picture of a giraffe, right? Now, it's a dog. Shit, I just replaced the picture. But oh, what's this? Here's a giraffe. And dog? They're together? Really basic concept. Really basic concept, everybody. Come on.
So this matters on a bunch of different levels, but on the most basic level, it's a voting rights question. In a democracy, one person equals one vote. If you change the population, you dilute the political power of the people who live there.
No, actually. Because when people move to the country, they then live there. Wow. What do you know? People who live in a place get a say in what goes on in that place. It seems like you just don't like brown people, Tucker. And this guy's kind of cringing because he knows how bad this looks.
So every time they import a new voter, I become disenfranchised as a current voter.
Now by
Cry harder.
Wants to make a racial issue out of it. Ooh, the white replacement theory. No. This is a voting rights question.
No, it's fucking not, Tucker. With your history, fuck no, it's not a voting rights issue. This is 100% racial to you.
I have less political power because they're importing a brand new
Good. You're a fascist.
electorate. Why should I sit back and take that? The power that I have as an American guaranteed at birth is one man, one vote, and they're diluting it. No, they're not allowed to do that. Why are we putting up with this?
They're not diluting it. I mean, they're diluting your vote by people who don't vote the way you do because it's not in anyone's best interest. Like, literally nobody. Is there any more? Nope. Okay. Jesus fucking Christ, Tucker. How dumb do you have to be to just come out and say it? Oh, they're gonna replace us. Fucking Jesus. I cannot comprehend the level of ignorance you would have to have. No, I mean, he does come out and he tries to patch it up after he's already, like, just mask off. Shouted, essentially, I'm a racist, they're trying to replace the whitey. Like, straight mask off. And then he tries to patch it up by being like, oh, people will try and say that this is like white replacement, the great replacement theory thing. It's not a racial thing. It's a voting rights issue. Yeah, like it was a states' rights issue for the Civil War. Come on, people see right through that shit. And if you look through your entire history, you have been hella white nationalist the entire fucking time. That's it. I've gone over Tucker Carlson before. Ben Shapiro's the obvious one, but Tucker Carlson is on Fox News, and he just gets to drop the white nationalism because it benefits conservatives. People say sex sells. Guess what, motherfuckers? The richest people in the entire country, some of the richest people in the entire world, are pretty fucking racist. And shit sells to them too. They're a big marketing area because they're so wealthy. Capitalism does perpetuate race issues. But let's not be class reductionist about this. Racism does not exist because of capitalism, okay? Just throw that out there. Racism does not exist because of capitalism. Capitalism perpetuates it. It benefits from it, but it didn't create it. Racism has been around for a long goddamn time.
So I'm not sure how many people are aware of this story. I myself am a little bit late to the party on this particular subject, but I wanted to talk about this on the program because I feel
I'm gonna let him talk about this, and I'm just essentially gonna comment every once in a while. But thank you, Humanist Report, Mike. I actually trust your reporting a decent amount. That's why I am subscribed.
like this is one of the most important stories of our generation, perhaps, and I don't really think that that's hyperbolic because the outcome of this particular story, the lawsuit that we're going to talk about here, it has broader implications on the First Amendment, on freedom of speech, and I think that leftists have kind of dwelled a little bit too much on the cultural aspect when it comes to freedom of speech. Like we respond to political commentators like Steven Crowder getting demonetized and Donald Trump getting banned from Twitter. And sure, those are related to freedom of speech, I think, tangentially. But if you truly want to reach the crux of the issue in America, it is a crackdown on political speech. The criminalization or attempt to criminalize political speech that currently is not politically correct. And I'm, of course, referring to criticism of Israel, in particular, BDS. Now,
Yep.
Abby Martin.
Yep, I fucking knew it! And no, this is not an anti-Semitic thing. I support BDS. Israel is a fucking fascist hellhole that is trying to genocide Palestinian peoples. Benjamin Netanyahu, awful. I don't like the state of Israel. I don't like the state of America. I don't like states in general. But some of the worst actors are Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the US. North Korea, not a great place, but it is in a very precarious position, so I'm a little different than some bigger YouTubers like Vosh. I give a little bit of deference to North Korea, but not entirely. Between Western imperialism and Chinese imperialism, they've been caught between a rock and a hard place, and China is the only one giving them the option to remain North Korea. So I kind of understand why they do what they do. I still disagree with it.
She is the host of the Empire Files. She's a journalist. She's a documentarian. Honestly, I admire her so much. Like, out of all of the leftists, she's at the top of my list in terms of who I admire. Just her work is so crucial. But she has a lawsuit that is so important. So she was invited to give a speech, and that speech, in order for her to give that speech, it was required that she sign a pro-Israel loyalty pledge that also says that she will not boycott Israel. Now, she refused. The speech was subsequently canceled, and now, as a result, she is suing. So she recently put out a video where she spoke with her lawyer and got an update on the particular lawsuit here. And I want to share some of the details here because this is so startling that every single person should be concentrating on this. Because what her lawyer says, the justification used to crack down on criticism of Benjamin Netanyahu's policies, is honestly jaw-dropping.
Okay. Now, I have my criticisms of Hakeem. I do. But he's a really good dude. Alright? Really smart, too. He's a doctor in Iraq. Like, dude is smart, dude knows his history, dude knows theory. I still have disagreements with him.
Her lawyer says here, it sent chills down the back of my spine because it is extremely troubling.
In February of this year, I was supposed to give a keynote speech at Georgia Southern University. Before the event, I refused to sign a state-mandated pledge to not boycott Israel in order to speak. My invitation was rescinded and the conference canceled as a result. I decided to sue the state of Georgia because signing an anti-BDS clause in order to work in the state is a direct violation of my constitutional rights to free speech and to participate in political boycotts. Similar laws exist in 28 states across the country. You can watch the whole press conference with my lawyers, with CARE and the Partnership for Civil Justice Fund on our YouTube channel, which we'll link to below. Joining me now is one of the main lawyers to give an update on the case, Mara Verheyden Hilliard of the Partnership for Civil Justice Fund. Thank you so much for joining me, Mara. So I first wanted to get an update on my lawsuit filed with CARE and the PCJF. Back in February when we had that press conference, the lawsuit was filed that day. Can you give us any updates on what has happened, what they've done to respond legally since then?
Since we filed the initial lawsuit, we have filed an amended complaint in this case, in which we've also been able to include.
Okay, that's already, like, just the information we have now, pretty fucked. Oh, you can't criticize Israel if you want to work in this state. No, fuck you, motherfucker. Don't tell me who I can and can't criticize, okay? Because if you can tell me that I can't criticize Israel, eventually you'll be able to say that we can't criticize America. So, fuck you.
Include some of the material that has come out since the initial filing that shows the communications going on behind the scenes in Georgia, where they were taking action to stop you from being able to speak in service to the law that acts as a censor against those who support the BDS movement. The defendants in this case have since moved to dismiss, which is what we expected. They've filed a motion to dismiss. We have filed an opposition to that. And there has now been an amicus brief that's been filed in support of your case by J Street and by a Jewish human rights organization of rabbis in the United States who feel very strongly that the First Amendment cannot tolerate this kind of censorship. And so they have joined in this effort because they don't believe that the BDS law is constitutional, regardless of their own feelings about BDS.
Just days after this lawsuit was...
Wow. Even people who don't like the BDS movement are disagreeing with this. That's a good lesson, okay? Now, not for, like, Twitter and shit, because that's not state-owned, but I've seen people get criticized for saying they don't want the state to crack down on Nazis for their speech. And my thought is, why would you want the state to crack down on anyone's speech? If they're not openly being inciting violence and shit, then there's nothing that the state can do. And if they're inciting violence, then that's what the state should be taking care of already. The world's not ready for full anarchism yet. I'm not on Twitch, I'm on YouTube.
Filed and widely reported in the press, Netanyahu tweeted this. He said, "Whoever boycotts us will be boycotted. In recent years, we've promoted laws in most U.S. states which determine that strong action is to be taken against whoever tries to boycott Israel." So,
oh fuck. Good luck, Netanyahu. If enough people boycott you, you won't have any income. You won't have a way to be funded. You will be overthrown, and a socialist will take your place, because you're a terrible individual.
So here you have a foreign country essentially threatening economic consequences to dictate the constitutional rights of Americans. Then you had Georgia state officials essentially citing Israel Netanyahu as part of their defense for these laws. I mean, this is a free speech case under the U.S. Constitution. So why is it that you have a foreign leader, making veiled threats for economic consequences, and then you have actual state officials in Georgia citing foreign officials as their reason?
Yeah. A, that's not veiled threats. Sorry, Abby, it's not. He just outright said, yeah, if you try and boycott us, we'll fucking boycott you, motherfucker. That was his message. To which I say, bring it. You don't have shit economically outside of what America helps you with. If we boycott you and we cut off foreign aid, what are you going to do? Where's your economy? How will you stay stable? You won't. But the U.S. has too much of a military interest in staying over there. So, prop up Israel. because it's kind of a decent spot. But that's why we really want Iran, because it's the jewel of the Middle East. Like, it is the heart of the Middle East. And if we could have military bases in Iran, that's what the U.S. wants. I think there was a U.S. President at one point who had been recorded saying if we controlled Cuba and Iran, it might have been Saudi Arabia, then we could control the world. I'm pretty sure it was Iran and Cuba. I know it was Cuba, but I'm pretty sure it was Iran. So, essentially, the reason that the U.S. has been pushing for Iran so much is because if they got Iran, that'd be one of the 2 key points that they would want across the globe to try and own the whole world. And then it would be Cuba, which Cuba never gives in. Which is good. Don't give in to the U.S., Cuba. Fuck the U.S. Wait, Caitlin Bennett, then Outer Wilds? Okay.
To undermine the U.S. Constitution here.
It's remarkable and fundamentally distressing that you have elected officials in the United States who actually are willing to sacrifice Americans' First Amendment rights, cherished First Amendment rights, at the request of a foreign country. And it's demanding basically that you and anyone else sign a loyalty oath to a foreign country in order to be able to contract with the state of Georgia. And the situation is so extreme that, in fact, one of the state legislatures, Deborah Silcox, when they were seeking to amend the law and raise that limit to $100,000 to try and moot your case, actually said in a committee meeting at the state legislature that she had been asked to take that step by the Israeli consulate, and apparently even brought a member of the Israeli consulate to speak in that meeting.
Okay, so we're going to stop it right there. I want to direct you to the video itself, like the link on the Empire Files YouTube channel.
That'd be what he wants to go. That's the whole thing, but
I want you to go watch the full video there. Give them the clicks and the views and the ad revenue. I think we've seen enough to kind of talk about the implications here, but her lawyer literally said that the Georgia state government is citing the leader of a foreign country to justify their crackdown on political speech that they disagree with. What? Stop for a second and imagine that Mississippi, they created this law and they said you are not allowed to criticize the government of Russia. You're not allowed to criticize their anti-LGBTQ plus policies or their authoritarianism. You're not allowed to criticize them. And the reason why we are going to pass this law is because Vladimir Putin himself said that you shouldn't criticize me. Imagine if that happened.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, fuck that.
Everyone on MSNBC, CNN, perhaps even Fox News would be speaking out against this. But lawmakers in Georgia quite literally cited the prime minister of a foreign country as their justification as to why they are cracking down on the constitutional rights of American citizens. That is horrifying. Absolutely chilling. Now, her lawyer goes on to explain that the lawmakers in Georgia, once they saw that Abby Martin filed this lawsuit, they tried to change the law and make it more palatable because they know that this wouldn't hold up to a legal challenge. In fact, just this year, a law in Arkansas, which is similar to the law in Georgia, was just struck down by the U.S. Court of Appeals. And as Elliot Setzer of Lawfare explains, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit on February 12th ruled that an Arkansas law requiring state contractors to pledge not to boycott Israel violates the First Amendment. In a 2-to-1 panel discussion, the majority ruled that the Arkansas law was written so broadly that it would also apply to vendors that support or promote a boycott of Israel, even if they did not engage in a boycott themselves. And the court explained that supporting or promoting boycotts of Israel is constitutionally protected expressive activity. The ruling reversed a January 2019 district court decision, which had dismissed the case and remanded the case for further proceedings. And that isn't the first time that a BDS law was struck down. There's been 4 other BDS laws struck down in courts because they're blatantly unconstitutional, which is why once Georgia saw that Abby Martin filed this lawsuit, then they tried to change it. It's just honestly shocking that this is taking place.
Yes, it actually is absolutely shocking. Thank you, Mike, for your coverage. I want to go to this because I'd heard some stuff about the Syrian airstrike that Biden had done, and there may have been an underlying motive, and that the forces that were attacking in Syria were actually around the Rojava region. So, I wanted to look and see, and it seems that maybe that was the case, that he actually defended Rojava from attack, but claimed it was retaliation for another attack. Would have been probably more accepted if he had just said, I was defending Rojava. The left would have been at least been like, yeah, that's kind of based. He was defending the anarchist project, except for the tankies. They'd be like, he was defending the anarchist project? Why won't he defend China? That'll be them. That would be them. The tankies would seethe, like they always do. Tayyip Erdogan. Oh, oh God. Okay, so they are optimistic about Joe Biden? Okay. Turkey over here trying to commit a fucking ethnic cleansing, fucking genocide over here, which I already knew, but the extent to which I was a little hazy on. But it's, really bad. Okay, so they're definitely hopeful. That's good. I would like them to be hopeful. Chomsky's a little optimistic, but not really. What is this? Probably some right-wing source. Let's get some, Oh, so they're calling the PKK a terror group. Huh. Ways by how the former People's Democratic Party. Wow, they really will just make shit up? Oh, okay. Never mind. It's ISIS. Daesh is ISIS. No, it wasn't founded by Obama. Holy shit. It was a misstep on Obama. He did fuck up. Biden went to go and stop. Biden went to go and stop the Iraqi prime minister after Saddam Hussein was executed from banning Sunni Muslims, right? ISIS. Sunni? Is it Shiite? No. Okay, so Yeah, they are the Salafi Sunnis? Salafi Sunnis? They're Sunni Muslims, right? Or is this a totally different thing? Ah, jeez. Okay, it gets really fucking complicated. But essentially, from what I remember, is that the Shiites were trying to stop the Sunnis from being part of the government. They put in bans and purged the Sunnis from the government. And when Biden went over to try and convince them not to do that because it could lead to bad things, Obama had pledged to pull the troops out while Biden was headed over there. So there was already a promise from the president to remove the troops from Iraq. Biden had absolutely no leverage and no bargaining chips. And thus, he failed in his bargaining. The Sunnis were kept out of the government, and they formed ISIS in retaliation. So, this individual, almost guaranteed to be right-wing. Okay. You know what, we'll just take this. Okay. It can't translate. Too much going on. Oh well. I guarantee this guy's fucking far right. But generally, from this is true. Okay. At least this last statement is. Last September, the United States speaking sending additional troops. The Kurds have been remarkably resilient. Not only have they managed to endure more than a year of ongoing Turkish attacks, but they have continued forging an inspiring experiment in direct democracy, drawing praise from observers who visit the area. Rojava has the best religious freedom conditions in the Middle East and has the best conditions for women. While the Kurds have defied the odds, they are now facing new threats because of the past few diplomats calling on Kurds to share power with rival politicians who do not hold the same revolutionary views. Nope! Okay. I don't need to read any more of this. Because if any of this is actually true, which Jacobin is fairly reliable, even though there's a lot of lefty Facebook groups who want to try and make fun of it. If Biden is sending his ambassadors over there and they're trying to get more moderate people into positions of power in Rojava, then that needs to fucking stop, okay? We don't need to share power with people who have opposing viewpoints from us, because that's how you get to the situation we are currently in, okay? That's how we get here. I didn't really plan on doing a super long stream today, as it is, so how long have I been going? 54 minutes? Yeah, this should be good, okay? I'll end on this note. Biden, tell your ambassadors to knock the fuck off and let them determine their own fucking path in Rojava. They need to not be trying to influence it. They just need to help them along. Not influence, help along. Anyways, if you do like the stream, like, comment, subscribe, do the thing. Follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/sandwhichpants. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, that should be a thing. Huh. I guess I just dropped audio bitrate entirely for a second. Like, comment, subscribe, do the thing. Take care of yourselves, drink some water, Sandwich Pants out. Thanks for watching.